Hey, Liron here. Today I'm going to show you how to stop worrying about the values in your watercolors. And it actually relates to colors. So let's assume for a second you don't need to show really darkness. You don't have to try and match every value you're seeing. Instead, let's make the separation in using very simple shapes and colors. Because colors are also a means of creating contrast, creating a difference between different elements. So you see this nice palm tree, or it's not palm, it's actually coconut. It's a picture from Thailand. Coconut tree. And I am merely interpreting what I'm seeing as a light and dark. So I'm skipping essentially what's super light and I'm painting the darks. I actually posterized the original photo to show you. Look at all the darks in the posterized version. Forget about the weird colors it creates. I'm just talking about the values for a moment, even though we're ignoring them. All I'm doing is painting those slightly darker shapes I'm seeing. What this does is it releases me from the need to match different values. Instead, I interpret the whole thing as light and dark, and I go with my instinct. Now, what's beautiful about this is your instinct might be wrong here or there, but as long as you just focus on, okay, these are my dark shapes, and that's the only thing I paint, it's almost like drawing, because you're just painting one single shape that happens to be the darker of the two. And we're going to worry about the lights later on. You're going to see we'll do something really clever only when necessary to bring a bit more of them out. Okay? And this really is simple, straightforward. This is great if you're a beginner, if you're kind of struggling with watercolor and values and just creating an impression you like. So all I'm doing is moving across the paper and just painting the shapes that appear to be darker. Now, you'll notice, because we're dealing with colors, I'm varying the colors. So here I added a bit of ultramarine because I think it looks great. I like to break colors into their components. So if I'm painting a green, I'm going to show some blues, I'm going to show some yellows. I like doing that kind of a thing. And if the color changes drastically, I will show it, of course, too. So right now we're getting to the tree branch, to the tree bark, I guess, the main body of the tree, and I am mixing something that has more red and yellow in it because it looks a little more brown. Now, look at what's going on. When I get to the lighter parts, I skip them. Right now, we're not painting lights. We're just painting that interpretation. Now, sometimes you will feel like you kind of need to also paint the lights, and that's what I'm going to show you soon, both for the tree trunk and for some of the leaves and the group of leaves, okay, because it will enhance the painting. But essentially, painting this way is so freeing, even in portraits. If you just paint the shadows, ignore everything else, you have no idea how much more granular you can be and how many cool things, look at this cool brush mark, how many more things you can notice, right? Now, the reason this looks good, by the way, is thanks to my control of the brush. Okay, this is an Escoda brush. It's not necessarily the best tip I have, but I actually enjoy it. It has a variety of width to the brush marks. If you're just getting started, if you're not yet comfortable with your brush technique, you will not get this good of a result. And again, this could have been much, much better, but I'm just comparing here because people tend to compare. So if you look at what you have on paper and you're like, it doesn't look as good, doesn't look as expressive, isn't as clear of an impression, and not that mine, again, is the clearest, but it's because of the brush marks and the shape. Every single thing someone with experience does, whatever skill it is, whether it's painting or athletes, everything you do has something behind it that a beginner won't necessarily know to appreciate, like how much of experience and sometimes effort, sometimes focus went into it, okay? So a lot of things you might not be noticing. Now here, I made an exception because I feel like the tree trunk is a necessary part of the scene. But notice how I didn't really stray too far in terms of the value. It's still pretty light, pretty bright. The camera kind of skews the colors a bit, so forgive me about that. Now I'm adding the background because it's nice to place this inside some kind of a container. And that's, I think, where a lot of beginners get stuck. They just paint like an object in the middle of the paper. They never try to develop into a scene because developing into a scene can be scary. But look at how light this wash is. Look at how I'm really not that worried about it being perfect. Just do that. Just place whatever it is you're painting into some kind of a scene. Give it a context. It can do wonders, right? So I'm essentially putting the foliage in the background, and then we'll also add the water and the grass underneath, just because it looks good. But before we do that, let's create that feeling of water by blurring out or blending the bottom part. So I'm swiping my brush, essentially. Hopefully you don't hear Ruth too much. She's barking all day long. So I'm essentially swiping my brush over the edge of that wash to help it move with the water. It's a damp brush. It's just a little, moist, not super wet. This is another kind of challenging one. It takes time to learn. Again, every single thing you see here that I do, from the mixing to how I hold the brush, to how I move it on paper, to how I mix the colors, it all has a lot more experience behind it than you might imagine. You might be able to imagine it, but most people, especially if you're a beginner, there's more that goes into it beneath the surface. The only reason I'm saying this is if you look at your paper and you're seeing something vastly different, don't beat yourself up for stuff like that. Okay? It really is in the nuances of experience, and it will come with time. Now, I want to make this final adjustment. Some of these leaves and groups of leaves are so beautiful as they catch the light. So I'm mixed mostly a yellow, a bit of blue, a bit of phthalo blue, as well as for the grass, it's the same blue. And look at how just bringing out the highlights, painting the highlights directly over a white background, funny enough, it really brings something different out of this. It puts the darks in an interesting contrast, in an interesting context, and this is what I was after here. And especially like when you zoom out a bit, you can see it even better, I think. So we're going to add the water, but to me, the biggest moment here is just adding those lights. And again, my value range here isn't awfully big. You don't see really darks. I know the greens, some of them might look a little dark. They're actually not that dark. And hopefully I'll post-edit the video to make it clear. I'm looking at the raw footage right now, basically. But this isn't really like a large value range, and you can achieve a lot with it. You can achieve simple paintings. You can achieve more complex paintings. Like that, it's not really complex, but that parking lot I showed you earlier, like about how values don't matter. So this is like 7-8 minutes just to show you how you can get a lot of work done with colors. And when you do that, it's more about interpreting the shapes that you're seeing, making it simpler. So you don't have to worry about combining shapes. You don't have to worry about even edges this much. And you don't have to, most importantly, really worry about values, because we shift our focus to colors, saturation, and shapes. Shapes first and foremost. And while it is true that I have some value variation, it's very, very limited. And this painting would work pretty well even if I were to lower that value variation. I hope that was helpful. If it did help you, be sure to check out the frustration-free watercolor course. I'll put it, it's the first link probably that you'll find in the description box under the useful links section. And also, I do want to give a huge shout out to all of my Patreon fans, Patreon supporters. I always get confused with terminologies. It's patrons. I want to thank you so much for supporting my work, just out of the kindness of your heart. I really appreciate it. And if you're watching this and you're not yet a supporter, you can head over to Patreon. There will be a link in the description box too. Just, become a supporter, $1 a month, and you get credits at the end of the video. You can put like 5 too if you want. If you're feeling generous, you can put 10, you can put 50. You can put as much as you want per month, but you will get the credits at the end of the videos, and I really, really appreciate that. And you're just supporting what I do here, which is bringing tons, and I mean tons, of free watercolor content, lessons, tutorials, and discussions. So I really appreciate that. We'll see you in the next vid. Take care.